second time I talk with me Spitfire, I talk in Headshot and of course a special guest, SilentStalker, otherwise known as one of the more infamous or famous people for the Armoured Warfare and World of Tanks community. Fiora the Tank Girl and Lightfoot Freddy aren't able to join us today because of personal reasons, so it's just going to be us four.
Personal readings, I sat there reading a book.
Personal reasons. As you well know, SilentStalker is the Czechoslovakian community manager and the content manager for Armoured Warfare as well. He publishes most of the new stuff, or is it all of it?
Well, actually, I'm not a community manager at all. Technically, I'm just a content manager. But yeah, I do publish the stuff on the portal.
Mm-hmm. So when you read the new stuff, most of the time, or even all the time, it's what the SilentStalker's doing. So, questions. This one is: will there be wheeled vehicles like Technicals and Humvees with missile launchers and autocannons in the game?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's asked a lot, and it was ever since the start. The answer for now is no. I mean, not in immediate future, but it's something we are definitely keeping an eye on. The thing about these technicals is, I mean, apart from them requiring a new model, which by itself is a lot of work, there are other things that we would like to add to the game that are still not there, like for example, like Chinese, not Chinese, but let's say Korean tanks. There will be the upcoming Polish and Czechoslovak AFV branch, which has tank destroyers in it as well. There will be French tanks, and well, there's actually a lot of standard vehicles that we would like to actually add before we start focusing on stuff like technicals.
So the standard stuff before the most exotic ones.
Well, not per se. I mean, we do have some pretty exotic stuff coming up as well, but more like actual military vehicles before something that was kit bashed, for example, in Syria, or you know.
All right. Another one is what was it? It was a lot of people quite agitated over that there is seal clubbing vehicles in the game. The Centaur 120 is known as one, and thankfully it's been fixed. But the Challenger 1 and the Xylos still remain, and people do use them a lot, and they are very, very, very effective in their tiers. And kind of seal club people. Is there any indication on what you guys plan to do with them?
Yeah, I mean, as was already announced in the past. Sorry for ramming you there. These vehicles, along with all other vehicles, will be reworked. The thing is, I can't really tell you right now how exactly will they be reworked, because for one, I don't know yet, like specific numbers, and second, it's still very much in flux. We are experimenting with, or Obsidian developers are experimenting with various setups, and yeah, I mean, overpowered vehicles. That's something that's definitely something we know about, and I believe that in some let's say aspects, for example, a Challenger 1 will definitely be changed in Balance 2.0.
All right. Does anyone else want to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, you talk about introducing new stuff into the game. Obviously, the Czech vehicles are coming with the introduction of effectively a new type of weapon, the recoilless rifle. Does that bring in like new problems or new sort of challenges when you're trying to balance that out with the rest of the game, or?
Well, that's probably a better question for an actual developer, because I'm not really a part of the development process itself. What I am a part of was, for example, looking up some information about this vehicle, like from real life, because as you know, in Balance 2.0, a lot of properties will be, let's say, rebalanced to resemble the real life values more. And so that's definitely one thing that we are focusing on. As for the recoilless rifles, I, without knowing the specific details, I don't think there will be any kind of like a special mechanism for this type of weapon. It's basically just a cannon that fires heat shells. It doesn't have a very high muzzle velocity, so one could say it will be something like a derp gun. And okay, I'm gonna drown here.
Everyone loves derp guns, though.
So yeah, sorry for that. So yeah, it's mostly about balance than actually new mechanics, so to say.
Okay. And you mentioned the French vehicles. Are they still kind of on the paper for this year, or? Because I think in the
For this year, no. And quite frankly, I'm not sure. I am quite sure that the Czech and Polish vehicles, which will come probably before them, they're not scheduled for this year either. I mean, one thing that has to be understood is that Balance 2.0 and subsequently update 0.19 is a massive patch that will require a lot of testing, which of course requires time. So I think that we'll have only one more patch this year, the 0.19. If nothing goes like wrong. Again, it's a really complicated thing, and personally, I don't think it should be rushed.
iToken?
Hey, Jeff, forgive me for stealing one of your questions. It's pretty important to me. So, the NA server's been kind of low in population. If it ever happens, I'm just being speculative, if it ever happens that the NA server doesn't have enough for the Obsidian to hold the NA server online, is there a possibility that the NA server players that actually do play transfers, like tank transfers, over to EU server?
That's like shutting down a NA server, just to be clear, is not in our plan right now. And we have really no plans to limit their NA service or anything like that. I mean, if that ever hypothetically happens, then yeah, I mean, we won't just shut one whole server down and all the people who play on it. I mean, we would probably transfer accounts or provide a copy account on EU or something like that. But as I said, there's no plan in that direction right now, and we actually firmly believe that Balance 2.0, along with global operations, will bring more people to the game.
Yep, understand. All right, thank you.
No problem.
So when it comes to statistics like win rates and stuff, are you able to answer how that impacts the game? So win rates and specific vehicles, specific game modes, classes and whatnot.
I mean, you are looking for an actual number for a specific vehicle, or the process how it impacts the game?
The process on how it impacts the game.
Well, that's actually something that did change in a way, but at this point, statistics are meaningless because everything is getting rebalanced anyway. So no matter what statistics a vehicle has, it will get rebalanced one way or another. In the future, I know that the process kind of changed. before, this is something that Richard Taylor, I believe, also explained that before, or Felix, that before we used a different approach. Felix introduced a lot of new processes to the game development, and one of them is the way the things are balanced. So you should see better balanced vehicles, improvements to performance, and of course the thing that we already mentioned is the rebalance of matchmaker and of all vehicles, so that let's say, for example, tier 2 has a much higher chance of defeating a tier 4 than it has now. So like evening out the tiers a bit and making the matches more fair.
All
That
right.
sounds. That's saying that sounds pretty good. I'm guessing, much like the changes that came to all the missiles and everything, it will be on the PTS at some point soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we're still in the internal phase of testing, but once we have something that we can safely, let's say, present to public without extremely negative reactions, then yeah, sure.
And can you give us any sort of idea as to, like, I don't know how much have you actually like had a chance to actually test it out internally so far?
I'm sorry, didn't understand the question.
Like, how much have you had a chance to actually test so far yourself?
Me personally, I haven't. There were some testing that I could participate in, but I was super busy this week and last week, so I didn't really do that. I know about the I know I have access to the reports, and I know about the feedback, but I haven't tested myself generally.
Are there any? Let's rephrase this. As the Leopard 1 has had a problem with the lower plate, it's been modeled weirdly, like it's not the right angle at the lower plate. So there's some model errors, I believe.
Yep.
Is there any chance it's got to be on the pipeline to get fixed, or are you guys got to wait until you get balance 2.0 before you start fixing tanks and how they look?
Well, so far 0.19 has like a really large number of vehicle changes coming,
Okay.
plus a very large number of new vehicles. Some of them were already like introduced in development articles, but most of them haven't yet. There's like really a lot of it. So amongst these changes will also be some model changes. I
Okay.
think that the majority of the model changes will wait until 0.20, but yeah, it's definitely something that will be fixed.
Sweet. Thank you.
So, what a lot of people have been somewhat worried about is that a lot of in comparison to the Challengers, the Abrams line doesn't really seem to be of much use. They used to have amazing rates of fire and gun handling, but now since they've lost that rate of fire, as well as having the biggest and easiest to hit of weak spots when it comes to MBTs, they feel a little bit crappy in comparison. Is there any plans to kind of have a buff for the Abrams line and to have specific
I don't know
ideas on how to play the different MBTs?
I literally don't know. I can't answer that question, and one of the reasons why I can't is also because the balance of the Abrams is not ready yet. At this moment, the developers are working on balancing the lower tiers, let's say, and they're working their way up from lower tiers to higher tiers. So we're not there just yet.
All right.
I mean, if you are if you are concerned about the big changes, like I don't know, everything gets its Top Gun removed or some stuff like that, I don't think there are such massive changes coming. There might be, I can't say just yet, but we don't have a plan to like totally overhaul the concept of the Abrams, like change it to some other vehicles or something like that. It will still be the Abrams.
Okay.
Guys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm having a bit of a hard time playing and answering at the same time.
It's alright.
That's
So
fine.
if it's okay, I'll just leave the platoon, leave you guys to play, and I can just answer stuff.
All right. No worries.
It's all good.
That's all good.
So I have a question from someone on my YouTube videos. They play on the YouTube, they play on the NA server. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a question. Fixes with AI in PVE missions. For one of which the mission drops the AI straight onto the players at the start.
Yeah, well, that's obviously a bug.
So bug fixing like that, will it be sorted or is it in the priority
Yeah,
development?
that's definitely I mean, that's a pretty game breaking bug, so it's definitely in higher up in the priority. Um, we're preparing a hotfix for the 0.18. It should be available next week, hopefully. Um, I can't guarantee that this particular this particular problem will be hotfixed in that specific hotfix, but it's definitely something the developers know about, and they're working on correcting it.
With like AI in PvE missions and stuff, what's the word on AI artillery at this point? Because it's sort of been mentioned that it's going to
Um,
get taken out, then left in.
yeah, I can't really answer that. I mean, not that I don't know, but for one, it still changes, and secondly, we'll have an announcement about the artillery later on. So I can't really just talk about it. Sorry, guys.
All right.
No worries.
How important is historical accuracy when it comes to modeling vehicle attributes?
Um,
So how the gun fires, how much damage it does, how far the tank goes, how the armor is developed, etc., etc.
yeah, that's a very good question. Um, let me put it like this: more than it used to be. One of the new approaches of Balance 2.0, as Richard Taylor already announced in your previous interview, is to make the armor and the ammunition, let's say, historically accurate, both the composition, so actual thickness, materials, and the mechanisms, so the way the shell interacts with the tank. Um, I can't really tell you about exactly what's going to change. I mean, there will be adjustments to normalization. That much you already know, but the details are really still in development. Um, but yeah, one of the goals of Balance 2.0, or one of its attributes, is to make armor and shells more historically accurate. So it's definitely more important than before. Some aspects of let's say, how to put it, some aspects of the vehicle some vehicle properties will still be like heavily gamified. So I mean, when you take accuracy, then the accuracy will be toned to for the vehicle to play well, but it doesn't mean it's like 100% depends on real life. Although, as an interesting fact, I can tell you that Obsidian was interested in introducing even like let's say realistic representation of accuracy, in the sense that they were interested in historical feedback. For example, how accurate the T54 was, how accurate the T55 was. I want just to be clear, this is not making it to the game. They're not making the accuracy the same way as it works in real life, because that would make for a very terrible gameplay. But it's something that they were interested in, and it shows that they do care about the historical accuracy indeed.
But obviously, like, gameplay still sort of comes first. It's not going to be historical accuracy over everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Gameplay always comes first.
Because I think that's the main thing that you see on the forums, that people worried about, you know, historical accuracy overtaking the sort of fun in the game.
Yeah, I can understand the concern, but it really is more like historical accuracy being a tool for fun gameplay than vice versa. We're not interested in making Armored Warfare a simulator or anything like that. It's really, really about the fun, and we do believe that the current approach will be more entertaining to players than what the balance currently is. Or
I
the
mean,
future approach.
Yeah, how do you go about deciding what vehicles you actually want to bring in? Like, we've got some of the interesting sort of the Czech ones coming in. The recoilless rifle one, the one with the 2 rifles on the roof, looks absolutely amazing. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks incredible. But sort of how do you go about sort of deciding which ones you kind of want to do?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. In the past, it was more about let's say, well, I suppose it didn't change all that much. There are actually many factors that go into the equation. For example, how iconic the vehicle is, which means that we, for example, there were some other plans, but shit, I can't really talk about this. Sorry, but I would love to tell you guys, but I would have to tell you the future plans beyond the French. Let's say that there were other tanks planned, and they were replaced by more iconic tanks. You know, it's as much community size as the vehicles actually, let's say, the way it is iconic, and it's, of course, its influence on the battlefields, which means, for example, some low tier vehicles will be appearing in 0.19. We already talked about the T54, T55. We have other plans as well for some very iconic vehicles, but yeah, I would get in trouble if I told you. Sorry.
Yeah, let's not get you in trouble.
Yeah, don't do that. And is that sorry, I was going to ask, is that going to be part of, because the initial vehicles are changing, aren't they? The M113 and the PT-76. That's going to be all part of that, is it?
Yeah, that's part of the big rebalance. The both the current M113 and the PT-76 are going away. They're not going away for good, probably. The M113 will be transformed into, I think it was Tier 4 tank destroyer, and the PT-76 is kind of unclear. Either it's going away like completely, or it's possible it will be some sort of legacy vehicle, like for people who were here before Balance 2.0. We'll see.
That works. This could be a more personal question. How did it feel for when Global Operations finally came out for you guys?
It was fun.
It felt pretty good. I mean, we were hoping that the players, you guys, would like it, and I think a lot of people actually do. And there's a lot of positive feedback. I mean, there's obviously some negative one as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that we will be improving on in the future. But I think overall the feedback was okay, and yeah, we're really happy about that. And we do see the global operations as one of the ways to go in the future. 0.19 will be introducing hopefully another global operations map.
Nice.
So that's something that we are already focusing on, improving global operations, and of course in the future there will also be the Lords of War mode. So this is the direction we're taking for now, and we'll see how it goes.
Liking it.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of people have been asking for vehicles that are quite early Cold War, and even some Cold War vehicles like the M103 Conqueror, IS-3, the Tiger, seriously, and the Mouse. I don't think the Mouse would be introduced, although I suspect that would probably be more introduced with like an April's Fool thing. But when it comes to iconic World War II vehicles and early Cold War vehicles, have there been any ideas to implement them?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to separate them. World War II vehicles like Tiger, Panther, no, that's likely never going to be introduced. But early Cold War vehicles, yeah, sure. I mean, we just introduced the IS-7, which is pretty much late wartime, if you want.
1947, I think.
Sorry?
1947, I think.
Yeah, something like that. It was developed even earlier, but anyway, yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, we've already unveiled the M48, which will be the Tier 1 vehicle. Basically, it will be splitting into two. So Tier 2 will be occupied by M48A3. Something that we will be officially, let's say, unveiling soon. There are other such cases as well. T54 will be splitting into T54, T55. And we do have plans, of course, for stuff for the future, like the Centurion. You know, what else? Again, it's probably stuff I shouldn't be talking about, but we do have plans for more iconic early Cold War tanks, and not just tanks, but also AFVs and such.
So you do sort of have a self-imposed kind of cut-off date in terms of when vehicles are eligible to be put into the game.
Yes and no. I mean, for one, this is again probably a better question for an actual developer, but I think that this is more like this is more about let's say a technology level or
Frank,
how to say the
would
technology.
it be
Yeah.
a vehicle-specific thing? So obviously Tigers and Panthers are no match, but a Centurion with the high power of 83mm would do fine.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, definitely. It's, as you say, it's more like a technology thing. For example, the Centurion was already developed as an so-called universal tank, which is something like a predecessor, not really a main battle tank, but like its predecessor. It's no longer a cruiser tank. Well, technically it was, but anyway, it was more to fulfill all kinds of roles. The same goes for T54, and I mean the T54 is actually a really good example because it was developed very early on. It was developed basically the first T54 was just an upgraded T44, and it was developed in 1945. The mouse, on the other hand, was also developed in 1945, and it's basically it's a dead end. There were no such super heavy tanks anymore. So in this sense, we can't say really that 1945 is the cutoff date because you have the mouse, you have the T54. It's more like it's more about the common sense, really.
All right. Another thing is the variants of specific vehicles. I mean, obviously we're getting the T72. Well, we'll have the T72 in Tier 4, the T72A in Tier 5, the T72B in Tier 6. And then you could also argue that they're the T-72 variants of the T-90 as well. When it comes to vehicles and how they evolve, like what kind of specific variants do you guys look out for? Is it the ones that completely change the vehicle, or is it just ones that, hey, we can put that into something else?
Yeah, well, there are two aspects for this. First aspect is pure technical one. I mean, from a development point of view, it's as you can imagine, probably easier to make another version of a T-72 than a brand new vehicle, because you don't need an entirely new model. You can adjust the model that you already have, and it doesn't take as much time, and you can produce more of these vehicles in a shorter amount of time than if you produced something completely different. But that's of course not the only consideration. Obviously, we want to produce unique models as well. Um, from the let's say historical perspective, the thing about different variants of the same tank is that their effectiveness raises by much, let's say, higher how to say it. The steps are much longer or much more pronounced between versions than it was, for example, in Second World War. I mean, there were two versions of Panther. They had some improvements, but a T-70A and T-72A and T-72B are much more different from each other than, let's say, Panther Ausführung G and Panther Ausführung A. So in this sense, the tanks that we are introducing are actually pretty significant updates, even though in the case of T-72, the only thing that changes in the name is one letter, A to B. But the tanks are really quite different. They have improved technology, they've improved armor, they have improved firepower, shells, fire control systems, and so on. So it's not like we're introducing an identical tanks to two different tiers just to make our job easier. These tanks were really quite important. The steps were really quite important, and even though there are like a large number of T-72s or subtypes of T-72s, these subtypes represents pretty serious upgrades. So that's one of the reasons why we are introducing multiple variants of the same tank.
And then I think obviously minor variants like the M1 Abrams and the M1 Improved and the M1 Heavy Common are all just simply incorporated into the upgrade for the vehicle, rather than being like a different variant of their own.
Yeah, I think there's no specific rule book as to what is already a different variant worthy of being represented on different tier, and what is still just an upgrade of the previous vehicle. Every case is kind of like solved individually. So in the case of Abrams, there will be some changes to the branch as well. But compared to the T-72s, they will be relatively minor.
All right. Another thing is that are there any vehicles or parts of maps or anything that are in jokes to my.com and Obsidian, like how to phrase this? Like when it comes to like in-game, well, in-house jokes by developers, they sometimes introduce like an Easter egg or something. Is there any plans for Easter eggs, and are there any in-game?
Well, there are some already. In the new garage, there's one, and I'm not even sure the players can actually see it like with the camera that's available. But there's one, and but as for the actual Easter eggs on the maps, I can't really say, because as you can imagine, these Easter eggs, the maps are developed by Obsidian, and these Easter eggs have meaning to Obsidian, not to my.com. So I can't really tell what is an Easter egg and what is not.
Alright, I think that's all the questions from me. Right talking, have you guys got any?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm really good.
I do have one, and it's one obviously that is answered or asked quite often. Is there a final word on the Draco? Everyone seems to love or hate the Draco, but is there a final word on it?
Yeah, the Draco will stay. In 0.18 it was changed to a sort of tank destroyer. It will stay for now, but it will definitely be rebalanced in Balance 2.0.
Awesome.
One final thing, cats or dogs?
Oh, definitely cats.
That seems to be a running theme along the my.com staff.
Yes, indeed. We all love cats. Everybody loves cats.
Who doesn't like cats? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Well, unless you're allergic to them.
I mean, you can
I
like
think I
them, you can
prefer
just be
dogs.
allergic to them.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's all the questions for me anyway. Sorry for ramming you
Actually,
again.
one thing for you personally, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
You were originally doing For the Record and then moved on to Armored Warfare. I'm sure there were some people who would like to know the reasons why, and I think we'll all understand if you can't answer them.
Well, it's not like it's a huge secret. Well, I would say the main reason was actually Josh, because Josh is like a super nice person, and I thought it would be like really, really cool to actually work with him. But one thing that really played a major role was that at the end I was super, super tired of blogging, and if I didn't do it, I don't think I would still be doing the blog in any case, because as I say, I was really, really tired of it, and it was starting to become unmanageable. Is that the word? Unmanageable.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
with my job. So yeah, basically going pro was something of a only viable option in the end. I mean, I like writing, and the content manager job kind of like combines everything that I like with actually getting some serious money for it. So yeah, it's a win-win.
That's always a good
That
thing.
works.
Actually, I do have another question. You used to do the sort of little bits of lore within the game. Is there any plans for that to come back again?
Actually, I can't really answer that. We have let's say a prototype of lore, like a global lore, written by Obsidian, and which is pretty much ready as far as I know, but it hasn't been implemented yet. I mean, you might have noticed that that the global operations have some lore tidbits, like
Yep.
there's the Tehina
Yeah.
division, there's something called TRF, which I'm actually not sure what that actually means, but it's a new faction, and they're like fighting, and there's some sort of backstory, but I think that these details and other such stuff will only be unveiled once we like roll out with the lore in general. Before that, it doesn't make much sense.
But there is more lore coming, basically.
Hopefully. I can't really give you any ETA. It's
Yeah.
something that Obsidian is working on, but when exactly, I don't know.
Cool. I'm happy for that.
Nice.
I liked the little bits of lore. They were really fun
Yeah.
to read.
Yeah,
I
they
think
were.
we all do. Why 2030? Is it because it's so far, well, about 14 years into the future that you can mold it a little, or just because people think it's a nice number?
I don't think there's any piece of lore that's saying that the game takes place specifically in 2030. We always said 2030s. sort of ish. To be honest, I think the date is just some sort of a placeholder until the actual lore rolls out. But at this moment, there is no definitive date when the game is taking place in. You know.
I'd love to see how many IS-7s are working in 2030.
Well, I mean, you have a T-34s from 1944 fighting in Syria today, so.
I
it's
guess
not
you got
that-
a point.
Yeah, so it's not like terribly unrealistic, but yeah, I mean, obviously there will be some gamified elements, like there is no large number of prototypes running around, but
Yep.
yeah, it is what it is.
All right. Well, I think we're done. If my game will let me alt tab.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd like to apologise for the fact that my game is in low quality because during global ops my computer was unable to stream and record and have 60 FPS, so I had to load the game. So if that's everything,
Yep. From me.
Yep, I'm good.
all right. Well, obviously I'd like to thank SilentStalker for taking some of his valuable time to talk to us and answer some questions. Obviously, thanks for iTalking and Hedge. Sorry,
Wow.
it's a H name. I talk with Heddy so much.
I know.
They're like, yeah. But thanks for Headshot for coming as well. That's it from me and everyone else.
Yep.
As always,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting
Thank
me.
you.
Thanks for
Take
coming.
care.
It's been awesome.
Like and subscribe to everyone else. I'm not sure if SilentStalker has a YouTube channel, but I don't think he can be bothered with that.
Not yet.
No. So leave your comments below and what you'd like to talk about. Well, what you'd like us to talk about in our next Armored Warfare Armored Talk video. As always, see you all next time, and bye.
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 Bye.